31st, 2020, is there something that was important to you on this date? Well, for James Ng, it was competing in the Tokyo Olympics on the refugee Olympic team for the second time at the 800-meter sprint. Even though he's constantly called an underdog, he is ready. Ready, set, go. The sound of a pistol booms. James shoots off past the crowd. Then he's tripped by a competitor and finishes last. His chance of a medal was ruined. So many refugees who grew up just like him never had this chance. Imagine you are a 19-year-old male and have just escaped a civil war in South Sudan. You have loved running from a young age, and on the playground you always beat the older boys in races. Now keep that in mind. With the help of a friend, you were able to escape war in South Sudan and resettle in Minneapolis safely. But you still have family in a refugee camp with inhumane conditions back in South Sudan. You are a legal adult, so you must pay for your family's plane tickets. Due to living in a third world country, you have only been educated until the 4th grade. The only way you can pay for your family's plane tickets is to get training, which isn't cheap, and then hopefully be recognized as a world-class athlete and get sponsorships from big companies such as Adidas and New Balance. So yes, money is the only visible thing holding you back. This is just one example of not having the chance you, as a refugee, rightfully deserve. I mentioned money can hold refugees back from pursuing sports as their careers. But what about bias? Refugees don't have a country to represent. Wouldn't you want to cheer for your country? In other words, your home? Refugees don't have a true home. The only people in favor of them to win are the refugee community, their coaches, and family. Before we get to how we can solve this issue, I want to distinguish the difference between a refugee and a migrant, for they are often confused. The dictionary definition of a refugee is a person who has been forced to leave their country in order to escape war, persecution, or natural disaster. A migrant, however, is a person who moves from one place to another, especially in order to find work or better living conditions. So this is the difference between choice and force. Now we get to fixing the two issues holding refugees back in sports. Bias is up to you to fix by having a balanced mindset. But to fix the issue of money, we can teach the younger generation about refugees. High schools could implement a field trip that is only $2 per person, and the students could be matched with a refugee that has similar interests to them by filling out a form. Then they could spend a week at a mutual area the refugees and students can both reach, learning about them and their living conditions. It's estimated that there are an average of 1,319 students at each of the 1,322 high schools in California alone. That means that $2,638 for each school in California can be donated to the charity I'm proposing. We could raise over $3 million in one state alone. All of this money would go to the refugee Olympic team. And to all the adults who would want to help, we could have a separate funding system that you could donate directly to the refugee Olympic team. We could also get help by shouting out great refugee athletes on social media or asking the refugee Olympic team to make a direct appeal to certain companies. James would have had it so much easier if he had this kind of help. You could also choose to sponsor an athlete of your choice by donating $50 to their sports careers a year. I propose solutions to solve the idea at hand, but why should we solve it? Take a look at this chart. Sports addresses health, gender inequality, social needs, developmental needs, surroundings, education, and most importantly, psychosocial issues such as stress and loneliness, which you can imagine refugees have a lot of. Introducing them to sports can release endorphins, which will make them a lot happier and willing to continue their fight. Because almost half of all refugees are under 18, they still have at least 4 or 5 years to be in peak sports shape. Well, they won't make a lot of money from doing sports itself. If they harness their natural talent, they will get sponsorships that can help them get on their feet. In that time, they could have enough sponsorships, one each national or international competition, to start a family or get a job as a coach, maybe even get a degree in sports management. If anyone had a fall even worse than James, let's say they got injured, they will need a way to get back on their feet. If a refugee became a medal contender one day, you'll be happy you helped this cause, but most importantly, they will have a job opportunity that promotes health both mentally and physically. Thank you.